Hello everyone and welcome back to SliverStar Arcade and more the Ace Attorney. In the last episode, we had new witnesses, and we're getting our ass kicked. I have considered the defense counsel's request for a further summination examination of the jury. Oh yeah, so everyone voted guilty, again, for the second time. And we're trying to do a second summination examination. And I have determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to this procedure. So, counsel, you will now proceed with your second summination examination. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman? We are, my lord. Very good. In that case, I must ask each of you now to state clearly and concisely for the court the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of this crime. It's a shame you can't hear the flames anymore in the background. Judicial findings. The jurors' contentions. The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his. If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime if the window was closed, can it? Dearie me, it was only a little book, hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit. Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tidy bit of trouble. Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. It gave me the sneezes. Yes, considerably more tangible arguments from all members of the jury this time around, it seems. With one notable exception, of course. What do you mean, one? I count at least 2 people, like jurors 5 and 6. My learned student friend was unable to find a fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. And moreover, boom! No one else was even at the scene to commit the crime. Well, if the eyewitnesses are correct, it would seem as if the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. I fail to see how it can be argued any other way. That means, I'm afraid, that during this summination examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts. But how? What would even constitute a tangible explanation here? Isn't it obvious? Who stabbed the woman, and how? Those 2 details are all you need to provide. Simply give us a name and the method by which the attack was conducted. And there I was thinking that this might be hard. Sorry about that. But Mr. Naruhodo, you have to do it. Otherwise, this really will be where the trial ends. No pressure then. That's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summination examination, please. I presume you are prepared, counsel? Oh, yes, my lord. Alright, Ryanosuke. Focus your mind now. Clearly, the key to this summination examination is going to be juror number 4, the maid. Or should I say Mrs. Garadib. We have a book that disappeared from the Garadib's house on the evening of the incident. And the 4th book was found in the victim's hand. There must be a way to link the 2. Yes, that's what we have to find. Using every technique I've learned in my short career so far. Whatever it takes. Don't forget to keep an eye on Mrs. Garadib and how she reacts, even to the things other people say. Jury examination? Is that what that said? The defense's rebuttal. The accused left behind evidence. Whoops, no, I meant to press. Hold it! But as we now know, there were 4 books, not 3. Well, what difference does it make? There's every possibility that the 4th book, in fact, belongs to the defendant's landlord. Yes, that's the part I have a problem with. Sorry? Well, at the point that woman was stabbed, this landlord fellow was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fiery scrap with his wife or something, you said. That's not exactly how I put it, no. Well, anyway, the point is, the fellow and his wife were somewhere else when it happened. I think that's what you call a strong alibi. Oh, so this is cool. This feature shows up for the jury. So it could have been the landlord who did it, which only leaves a Nipponese fellow. Honestly, I can't see what all this palaver is about. It's a done deal, isn't it? I suppose it is, since I've nothing witty left to say. If there was some novel, I might reconsider. So, you might be willing to change your decision, you mean? Oh ma, such delight on your face, but I'm afraid I shan't be swayed by emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I am a very modern, metropolitan, and rational woman. That's great. If one reads the morning papers, it's all forgotten by tea time, isn't it? So why read them in the first place? You see? Modern, metropolitan, and rational thinking, wouldn't you say? And not at all extreme. As I see it, an overwhelmingly suspicious Japanese man has been implicit by overwhelmingly strong testimony. So despite one or two minor puzzlements, I do declare that the man is overwhelmingly guilty. Modern, metropolitan, and rational logic, wouldn't you say? Overwhelmingly. But us modern gals are always delighted to embrace new fads, you know. So I'd only be too happy to consider an exciting new theory if you could come up with one. I'd be happy to do that too, if only I could. Let's do our very best not to disappoint the modern and metropolitan young lady. Right, I'm glad you admitted rational there. Damn, this game's funny. Hold it! But what about the possibility that the window was open? What about it? I mean, there's just no way it could have been. How can you be so sure? The prosecutor fellow over there said earlier, didn't he? Winters in London are no joke. You don't want to invite that sort of cold indoors. So, no, the window wasn't open. Us Londoners like sitting by the fire and staying warm, you see. But you couldn't categorically state that the window wasn't open, could you? It just wasn't. They wouldn't have opened it. Then what's the point even having windows, huh? Counsel, you will kindly refrain from childish bickering. Oh, sorry. Somehow I need to show that there's an undeniable possibility that the window was open. Man, we don't get to see this a lot. Cause Ryanosuke is a lot more nervous than Phoenix. Like when Phoenix gets nervous, this is what he does. Ryanosuke just kind of panics. Because this young man isn't going to budge otherwise. Wait a minute, what was that last? Somehow, undeniable possibility that the window was open, otherwise he's not going to budge. Dear me, it was only a little book, hardly life-threatening. Hold it! But the little book was on fire at the time, was it not? With flames of love, I'll have you know. There's really no such thing as a loving incendiary bomb. Stop hitting the Scotsman. Well, he brought it upon himself. It's playing with fire to betray a fiery love. Isn't it? Well, don't you agree? Oh, well, any kind of betrayal is certainly a bad thing, yes. But I think the argument might have arisen out of your misunderstanding, Mrs. Garridib. Never you mind that. The point is, we were just having a jovial little dispute, nothing more. And I won't have any more suggestions that it was anything whatsoever to do with this crime. Right, well, we'll see about that. But what about juror number 5? He doesn't seem to be turning a hair at Mrs. Garridib's relentless onslaughts. It's almost as though he's used to it. What a gentle soul he is. Who's ready for some terrible Scottish?
Hold it!
Gal. That's about the only Scottish I can do is gal. And even that's terrible. You just want to get this over with? How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here.
Well, him and me both then, like I said before.
What?
I told you already, I'm a day laborer, aren't I? If I don't bring home some readies with me tonight, you'll find me floating face down in the Thames tomorrow morning.
What?
Yeah, me missus isn't one to mess about, you know. She can be fierce, believe me.
Another shining example of marital bliss, then.
Situation like this cropped up the other day. It was, well,
Yo, it's funny, but I can't quite remember. Sorry?
It was too frightening, that's the thing.
I must have blocked it out. Hopeful. I wonder if Mr. Beat will ever be dragged into the Thames by his scarf. Don't even go there, Mrs. Sato. There must be some way to jog his memory about this. Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. He gave me the sneeze.
Hold it!
Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's culpability in this case?
Sorry? What's that? You'll have to speak up, lad.
Could you tell us more about that fire?
It was last winter. My grandchildren baked me a lovely cake on my birthday. It had 75 candles on top, it did. What a sight to behold it was.
You put candles on a cake? Was it some kind of devil worship?
Of course not, it was an angel cake. To celebrate my birthday, obviously.
It seems that's a common custom here in Great Britain, Mr. Naruhodo.
Anyway, I must have all my puff to blow them out. Only I must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go out, but the candles went flying all over the room. Furniture caught fire and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke.
Definitely sounds like devil worship to me. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold? How'd you catch a cold from a fire?
What a fiasco it was. The grandchildren, bless them, threw water over me as they tried to put out the flames. And then, because the old room had filled up with smoke, of course, we had to open all the windows to clear it.
The windows?
The bitter and winter air rushed over me like the devil danced on my grave, it did. I caught a terrible cold from it. It put me in the hospital for a while. I won't forget that birthday in a hurry.
I want to get to that point where not only am I old enough to have that many candles on a cake, but I'm in a position where people will want to put that many candles on a cake to celebrate my birthday. I feel like I want basically what that turtle in Dragon Ball Z got, where his cake just becomes fire. I knew it was devil worship all along. Something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. We need to demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Natsume, could have attacked the young woman on the street, as well as how he or she could have done it. Yes, but once again, the jurors' statements are full of personal prejudice. And a lot of them seem convinced they're right, even in the face of logical arguments to the contrary. I think you're going to need to pit them against each other to force them to accept an alternative explanation. Yes, I don't necessarily need to find contradictions between their assertions. Just a connection might do the trick. Alright, I'll see what I can do. If anything stands out, I'll go in for a strike. That's the spirit. Accused left behind evidence. There's some... the victim was stabbed. Dear me, it was only a... look, I didn't... Oh, this is new. Winter house's fires are dire. You have to open windows to clear the smoke. That's when you get the chill. So pit you against you.
Objection!
These two jurors' statements clearly contradict one another. They do? How exactly, counsel? Don't point at me again. I told you it wasn't me.
Eh? What's that you say? Speak up, lad, speak up.
Juror number 3, do you see? Oh, me? See what, sir? Did you hear juror number 6's account of his birthday celebration last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of winter. Well, yes, of course, because it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, if there was a room filled with smoke from a fire, then you'd be mad not to open the... Oh! Exactly. On the day in question, at the time of the incident, there was a fire in the Garridib household, and Mr. Garridib had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke. Oh my hat! Calm down, lady, you're gonna have the shits for days. Oh wait, no, that's not coffee, that's tea. Still.
Excuse me!
Juror number 4, do you have something to say about that? Mrs. Garridib. Oh dear me! What is the meaning of this? How dare you imply that I'm hiding who I really am? It's imperative that you confirm something for the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now. What is this? When the fire started in your house that day, did you or your husband open the window? Well, I beg your pardon, what are you insinuating? The room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window. And what if we did? Oh, right then. Yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window, which can't have been easy, since I continued to give him a justly deserved book battering. Even though your house was on fire. Oh, you never stop throwing until the anger subsides. It would be terribly bad for the nerves to do otherwise. Of course, I should have realized. That's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruhodo. You managed to establish that the window was open. We simply must have that added to Mrs. Garridib's formal statement. Now that you mention it, yes, the window was open at the time. I'd clean forgotten, but it's true. The window could have been open when the woman was throwing books. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. Do I need to press these two now? Pit against you again?
Objection!
These two statements clearly contradict each other. I'm sorry, but as a foreman of the jury, I have to object. That's complete nonsense. What? I'm a banker, don't forget. An educated man. There's no contradiction as far as I can see. Quite so, Mr. Foreman. I will not permit a whimsical attack against good members of the jury council. There's nothing whimsical about it. Oh, I probably just had to press it. That's what. That's probably what I had to do. Okay. Press. The fourth book found that the scene of the crime shows very obvious signs of fire damage. And the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Garridib told us he had been reading. Do you know what she looks like? She looks like Jinx from Pokemon. Well, I really couldn't say. On the day in question, did you or did you not throw at your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he had been reading? I did. It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. And now you come to mention it, yes. He was rather enjoying reading it, you're right. Why did you not reveal this information to the court from the outset? Because I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember. At times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on as well you know. I really don't. I barely noticed I was throwing a book, much less the title of it.
Excuse me.
What is it, juror number 5? You know something? I've remembered what it was. That memory I had blocked out. I was listening to what... It was listening to what this granny was saying. Brought it all flooding back. Who are you calling a granny, you cheeky devil? I'm Mrs. Garridib, or the maid, I'll have you know. The man doesn't even flinch. Please tell me that's not because he's so used to being hit all the time. It was about 2 weeks ago now. What the? Why the Herlock music? I just got back home after work, like. I put my hand in my pocket for the wages I just earned that day, and I nearly died. There was a hole. Every last penny had dropped out. Oh dear, what a disaster. You haven't heard the half of it, boy. Oh? The wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out, but I told her straight. I've lost the day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ear. Stuck into the wall next to me it did, about an inch deep. No words, just terror. I could smell it then, you know, that god-awful stench of the Thames. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, I can tell you. Now, that's a real disaster, isn't it? I'll never use the word lightly again. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose their rage, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammers, you name it. Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't think that all women are so short-tempered and unrefined. No, I wasn't thinking that. Please, God. Throwing household objects at people is, well, it's so uncivilized. At least attack with honor, using a bow or the like. What? Attack? Who are you going to attack? Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think. Alright. We'll come back to the bow and arrow thing later, if I dare. Hey yo, Ryosuke, you watch your back, boy. I need more water. A woman in rage will hurl almost anything at you. The kitchen knife really brought that home.
Hold it!
Your wife really threw a kitchen knife at you. That's right. She was chopping meat with it. Had a tidy edge on it, believe me. Still, it's all memories, isn't it? It started with that smile she threw me when we were courting. And since then, at least the thing she'd thrown at me was grown along with our relationship. There was a cup, then a glass, then a pot, a kettle, a chair, a wardrobe, a cooker, a bathtub. Your mice must be even beefier than you. And things came to a head last week when she threw me right into the Thames. Still, she's not so bad when she's calmed down. She's a little sweetheart, really. I'm so happy for you. If you want to know what I think this whole idea of ladies first that we're so obsessed with in this country was thought up by some clever lads who'd been tossed into the Thames a few too many times by their wives. That's a very interesting theory. What a terrible thought. On the face of it, this juror's statement just sounds like a really extreme anecdote. But I think it might turn out to be an extremely powerful weapon. A weapon I might be able to use to make the jurors accept an alternative explanation here. Okay, now I need to think. Woman in rage will throw anything. Okay, so we're gonna save. Man, this music's good. Alright, let's think this through. The cues. Alright, so the window could have been open when the woman was throwing books. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. Now you mentioned, yes, the window was open at the time. I couldn't forgotten, but it's true. Woman rage will hurl almost anything at you. The kitchen knife really brought that home for me. Okay, there's no way it's
Objection!
Wait, it is? Those two statements clearly have a deep, significant connection. Good grief, you mean they don't contradict each other? Explain, counsel, at once. Oh, I was supposed to do the other people first. Juror number 2, do you think perhaps that this could have been one such novel alternative? Oh ma, whatever do you mean? An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? We've demonstrated that the 4th book, The Lion's Pride, that was found at the scene of the crime, originated in Mr. Garridib's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object, besides the book, could have found its way from the Garridib household to the streets below. What's that now? Oh shit! This is genius! After all, Mrs. Garridib could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4? What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole? That's a new one. I'm beginning to think that ever since the true origin of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened. Now listen here, you Eastern Gala. As the foreman of this jury, I demand a straight answer. You give us this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house. But what? What was it? I'm really taking a big gamble here. That was a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up. Breathe in, breathe out. But I'm certain, at the very least, this warrants further investigation. You got this, man. You got this. Alright, Mr. Foreman. I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way from the Garridib household to the scene of the crime was the jackknife.
Take that!
Juror number 4, Mrs. Garridib. What now? I must apologize in advance for this. But I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before? Oh. Good Lord, counsel, what on earth are you doing? That's the weapon that was lodged in the victim's back, man. God damn, Lord Von Zeeks is tall. My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Garridib were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Garridib was hurling anything she could at her husband, who had been backed up against the window. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the crime scene. You can't seriously believe that. The book was found in the victim's grasp. Are you saying that flew out the window and across the street to land neatly in her hand? Huh? Even my missus hasn't got a name like that. Yes, I admit there are many details we don't yet understand. But that's the point. That's precisely why we must not allow this trial to end. Not right now. Oh my. Ugh. Mrs. Garridib, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before or not? Oh, oh. God damn, like a sack of potatoes. Oh, it's so short. My lord. I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all. Thank you, madam. Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end with so many unanswered questions. Mr. Foreman! I'd have to agree. Not that I think the granny did it, mind. Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either. All together now, ladies and gents. The old man's still unconvinced. We did it! Congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo! So, as a result of the defense's summination examination, the number of the jury's lenience have changed. 2 jurors called guilty against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided. And this trial will continue.
Fuck yeah! Oh, to be continued? Oh, no.
Now then, Lord Von Zeeks, how does the prosecution wish to proceed? This trial is rapidly descending into a farce.
Right you are, my good man. Which is exactly why the episode is ending here. Because almost exactly 30 minutes. Pretty good place. Summination examination's out of the way. And then, because we're going to... Either this is going to end or... Yeah, but basically I think we're going to need more time for what comes next. So, thank you all so much for watching. And as always, stay safe, have fun, and have a great day.